Question number 161. Which is not true for monosynaptic knee-jerk reflex? So this question is with respect to monosynaptic knee-jerk reflex, and this knee-jerk reflex is also known as patellar tendon reflex. It is a stretch reflex. So the very first option, that is, it is a stretch reflex, is a correct statement with respect to knee-jerk reflex. So this cannot be a correct answer to our question. This stretch reflex involves the movement of lower leg which moves outwards and upwards away from the thigh. As you can see here, this knee-jerk reflex involves stimulus which is received by the receptor, and through the efferent pathway, the nerve impulse reaches the dorsal root ganglia and then into the spinal cord, where it forms synapse with a motor neuron. As it is a monosynaptic knee-jerk reflex, so it lacks interneuron. There will be no interneuron in this monosynaptic knee-jerk reflex. So within spinal cord, this sensory motor as well as neural motor form a synapse, and through this efferent pathway, the nerve impulse will reach to the motor end plate or effector, and this effector will show a response. What response? The lower leg will move upward and away from the thigh. Now let's discuss the options. So as the very first option is incorrect, the second option is it involves bending of knee towards thigh, and as it is an incorrect statement, so this is a correct answer to our question, because this knee-jerk reflex involves bending of knee away and upward and not towards the thigh. The next option given is sensory and motor neuron synapse on gray matter or spinal cord, and as it is a correct statement, so this cannot be a correct answer to our question because it lacks interneuron and there is a direct synapse between sensory and motor neuron. The last statement is it is also called patellar tendon reflex, and as it is also a correct option, so this cannot be a correct answer to our question. So the correct answer to this question is option number 2. Let's discuss our next question. Question number 162. Part of brain that deals with a strange mix of signals from smell and converts information from short-term memory to long-term memory. So the key point is short-term memory to long-term memory, and this conversion of information from short-term to long-term memory is performed by hippocampus. This hippocampus is a part of complex structure which forms a limbic system of forebrain. And it is this region which deals with strange mix of signals about smell and converts information from short-term to long-term memory. Let's discuss other options also. The very first option given is amygdala, and amygdala is also a part of limbic system, and this part is involved in emotional reactions like rage and anger, etc. So this cannot be a correct answer. The next option given is corpora quadrigemina, and this is also an incorrect option because corpora quadrigemina are 4 round swellings which are present on the dorsal portion of midbrain. The next option given is hypothalamus, and this is also an incorrect option. Hypothalamus is a part of forebrain which controls body temperature, urge for drinking, eating, sexual urges, and emotions like rage, anger, etc. So the correct answer to this question is option number 4. Let's discuss our next question. Question number 163. Structure that connects the third ventricle with the fourth ventricle of brain for passage of CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, is, and the correct answer to this question is option number 3, that is eta. As you can see here in this diagrammatic representation depicting ventricles of brain, these lateral ventricles or first and second ventricles are connected through third ventricle to the fourth ventricle, and the duct which connects this third ventricle with the fourth ventricle and allows passage of cerebrospinal fluid is cerebral aqueduct, which is also known as ater or aqueduct of Sylvius. So the correct answer is option number 3, ater, which connects third ventricle with the fourth ventricle and allows passage of cerebrospinal fluid. Let's discuss other options also. The very first option given is neural canal, and this is an incorrect option. Neural canal is a system of cavities that form the central canal of the spinal cord and doesn't connect third ventricle with the fourth ventricle. The second option given is corpora quadrigemina, and this is also an incorrect option. Corpora quadrigemina are the 4 round swellings which are present on the dorsal portion of midbrain. The last option given is amygdala, and amygdala is an incorrect option because amygdala is a part of limbic system which is involved in emotional reaction like rage and anger and do not connect the ventricles of the brain. So the correct answer to this question is option number 3. Let's discuss our next question. Question number 164. Ions essential for depolarization of exolemma upon stimulus are. And this is a direct question, and the correct answer to this question is sodium, because it is the influx of sodium ions through voltage-gated sodium channels which leads to depolarization of exolemma. On the other hand, efflux of potassium ions through voltage-gated potassium channels, they are responsible for the repolarization of exolemma. So the correct answer is option number 1. Let's discuss other options also. The second option given is potassium. And as we've already discussed, that efflux of potassium ion are responsible for repolarization and not for depolarization of exolemma. So this is an incorrect option. The third option given is calcium, and this is also an incorrect option. Calcium channels are present in the axon, and opening of these calcium channels are responsible for the exocytosis of neurotransmitter-filled synaptic vesicles in synaptic cleft, and these are not responsible for the depolarization of exolemma. So this is an incorrect option. The last option given is magnesium, and it is not involved in depolarization of exolemma. So the correct answer for this question is option number 1. Let's discuss our next question. Question number 165. Electrical current can flow directly from one neuron into the other across electrical synapses due to presence of. So we are concerned about electrical synapse. The very first option given is gap junctions, and this is a correct answer to our questions, because it is through these gap junctions that electrical current flows from one neuron to other across electrical synapses. These communication channels called gap junctions are present in electrical synapses where the size of synaptic cleft is smaller in comparison to chemical synapses. Let's discuss other options also. The second option given is acetylcholine, and this is an incorrect option. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter in chemical synapse, as you can see here, which is representing a neuromuscular junction. This is axon terminal, and this is the presynaptic membrane where exocytosis of neurotransmitter is occurring, and these are the neurotransmitters, for example acetylcholine, which are released at the synaptic cleft. And these neurotransmitters then bind to the receptor which are present on the postsynaptic membrane. And this complete presynaptic membrane, synaptic cleft and postsynaptic membrane, they will form the chemical synapse. So this acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter which is involved in chemical synapse and not in electrical synapse. The next option given is cerebrospinal fluid, and this is an incorrect option. Cerebrospinal fluid is present in brain and spinal cord and not at the synaptic cleft. The neuromuscular junction is filled with extracellular fluid and not with cerebrospinal fluid. The last option given is nodes of Ranvier, and this is an incorrect option. These nodes of Ranvier are present at the axonal region and not at the region of synapse. So the correct answer to this question is option number 1. Let's discuss our next question.